Sorry, I'm muted. What's up, guys? Quick 1 hour stream. Quick 5 chapters. We're gonna do a quick 5 chapters. Love sent me the thing, right? We need to read between now and 6 or so. All right, I'm jumping straight into it. All right, go. We're going straight into it. We've been live for like a few seconds. We're just skipping the intro. We're just finishing volume 6 because I am leaving Friday. I'm leaving Friday and I'm not back until Monday. So realistically, I can only stream Monday to Thursday, and then I won't be able to stream again until Thursday. So that's like a 4-day gap, bro. So I need to finish volume 6 by Thursday night, my brothers and sisters. So we're just going right into it. And the music is way too loud. Let me adjust this. I am so sorry. I know. I'm going crazy just thinking about it. Cool. I'll start my midterm exam in 30 minutes. I'll leave soon. No, I am so sorry, Misty. Oh, man. Let me get my time set. We're just going straight into it. I'm only gonna knock out like 5 chapters. I can't read that much longer. I was trying to go live earlier, but I literally just sat down. I'm still in my outside clothing, you know. I haven't even changed yet. No, man, the music got me hype. Hell yeah, bro. We going crazy? I know. And I know Wiz finished today, so that's exciting, dude. That's so fucking. I'm so excited to talk to him about the ending. Woo! Hopefully soon rather than later. You got drip? Thank you. This is my wait. Okay, it's an online class, so I actually waited for the last minute. Okay, that's good. Warranted. All right, I'm change the playlist. Yo, what's up, Sonny? We're going straight into it. We'll have this watch later thing I haven't done yet. Skip that. All right, chapter 1231. It's called Visiting Everywhere. Emlyn subconsciously looked at the high stool. I thought it said high stool on the other side of the room, and he saw the exquisite doll. His eyes immediately revealed a look of amazement, admiration, ardor, and other mixed emotions. He opened his mouth and almost blurted out the question where he could buy such a doll and who was the master behind the piece of work. However, he was already an adult and had experienced plenty of things. He knew that bringing up such a question was very impolite, so he planned to find an opportunity to ask about discussion or on serious matters when we're finished. Sharon frowned and discernibly. Oh, he thinks Sharon is an actual like porcelain doll. Sharon frowned indiscriminately as her body floated up. She bowed to Renette Tanker and Sherlock Moriarty. There's no need for small talk. Klein said simply, our initial plan is this. He shared how he... Oh, this is the plan. I completely... Dude, I didn't read for like 2 days. I forgot where we were at. He shared how he would let his historical projection take the initiative and step into a trap and attract the attention of the Rose School of Thought and described in detail. Sharon, with her black bonnet, listened quietly and said with a slightly ethereal voice, they might not fall for it. After realizing that you are an attacker, that Shaman King will likely choose to retreat under the protection of the sealed artifact or angels. Bro's been 3 minutes. Where's the song? I can't stall. We can only knock out like 5 chapters. This way, it could only implicate a portion of the Rose School of Thought strength. Without waiting for Klein and Emlyn to respond, Renette Tanker, 4 heads, opened their mouths and said at a faster pace. Oh, okay, that's new. Their main target should likely be me. Emlyn was a little lost hearing this, but he could roughly tell that the spirit world creature that Gurman Sparrow had summoned had quite a status. Furthermore, it had a deep relationship with the Rose School of Thought's Temperance faction. That's right, even if the Mother Tree thinks highly of me, the setup would most likely attract a Miss Messenger. After a moment of silence, Klein gave an addendum. I've never said that word in my life. An addendum. Madam, you and I will attack the other Shaman King in the form of the historical void projection. Gurman Sparrow is very respectful towards this spirit world creature. Just as his thoughts flashed through Emlyn's mind, he saw the 8 eyes of the 4 heads sweep past him. Yo, green and yellow, go good on you? Thank you. He shivered and instinctively joined in the discussion. Can this fool those? Wait, what? Can this fool those from the Rose School of Thought? Since Klein had suggested that, he must have thought of a corresponding solution. I need to lower the volume. Hold up. The volume is way too loud on my head. I'm not in streamer mode yet, but the music also a little bit too loud for me. So it's kind of hard for me to read. I think this is good right here. Then we'll lower this down a bit. There you go. Since Klein had suggested that he must have thought of a corresponding solution, I have an item that can be lent to Miss Tinker. Having said that, he looked at Renet Tinker and said, this item can mimic the beyond powers that surface in your mind. I hope you can use it to summon your past self, then move yourself into a concealed state and inject your consciousness into the projection. This way, the Rose Skull of Thought won't be able to discover anything abnormal in a short period of time. It's very likely that they will fall for... Don't mind me, I'm just taking off my shoes. I hope you can summon it. Or, okay. Don't mind my shoes. This way, the Rose Skull of Thought won't be able to discover anything abnormal in a short period of time. It's very likely that they will fall for it and gather all their strengths to the surrounding and kill you and me, allowing Miss Sharon and Emlyn to find a chance to launch a surprise attack. If they're more cautious than I thought, Klein paused for a moment before revealing a smile. In that short period of time, if you join forces with me in your peak condition, there is a chance of killing the Shaman King despite him being under the protection of a sealed artifact. No, the main point is that do you know enough about the Beyond powers to summon the historical void projections, as well as entering into a concealed state? One sec, I need to turn off the night filter. It's ruining like my eyesight, because all these are like the white lights, but then all this is like the blue light filter. I can demonstrate the former to you, but I will think of a way for the latter. Renet Tanker's forehead shook up and down at the same time. I can, no problem. That's the general gist of it. You can confirm the details in the next few days. Klein silently estimated the time as if he made his delivery succinct. Sharon nodded indiscriminately and said, the most important thing is intel. Teacher can provide a portion of it. The rest can be obtained through the magic mirror divination. Merrick echoed, I remember the symbol you drew back then. She also remembered the question posed by the hidden existence didn't violate much of her privacy and didn't bring about too much shame. Emlyn thought for a moment and carefully asked, how do we communicate on both sides? If we can grasp the timing accurately, the plan will definitely fail. The Bloodchain's oath of the Rose Skull of Thought. Let me raise this a bit. The Blood Clan's oath of Rose Skull was unable to transmit what they saw and heard at such a great distance. Sharon glanced at Renet Tinker and said, Teacher's main body can stay on our side. 10 seconds after she enters a concealed state, we will take action. Once she exits the concealed state, we will immediately leave regardless of whether we succeed. Emlyn jumped in fright as he... Oh, he heard she. Emlyn jumped in fright as he instinctively turned his head to look at German Sparrow. He remembered very clearly that she was summoned by Mr. World. How terrifying. Emlyn didn't know if he was referring to the Spirit World creature or German Sparrow. Damn. After the intelligence gathered is done, you can communicate again. Seeing that it was almost time, Klein took off his hat and bade farewell. Emlyn's lips quivered, but he didn't ask anything in the end. He followed German Sparrow out of the house where Sharon and Merrick were. Miss Messenger actually didn't ask for any gold coins. This is because I'm helping her. If she really... Oh, that's why she doesn't need payment. Damn good question. What chapter is this? I have everything off. Damn. Wait. I forgot to turn on everything. Oh, shit. Damn. I jumped straight into it. I forgot to turn on everything. Give me a sec. I have my finger so I don't lose my place where we're at. I had everything off when I was recording a video. And I forgot to turn it on. All right, here we go. Give me a sec. Bro, just realized. I literally just realized. There you go. There you go. How does it look without it? Wow, there is so much more real estate with all this shit off. Oh, but it's so bright. Damn, that was scuffed. I'm sorry. Is that everything? I think we're good. Yeah, we're good. We're good. All right, everything's back on. Okay, now let me read this sentence. This is because I'm helping her. If she really wants payment, all the gold coins I have are historical projections. I can only rely on Emlyn. I have to say that the bangle of spirituality that Emlyn provided to Miss Magician had pretty good effects. On the other hand, it can strengthen Miss Magician's spirituality. And the other hand, it can speed up her spirituality recovery, allowing her to last this long. Just as this thoughts ran through Klein's mind, he heard Emlyn ask in puzzlement, that ma'am, Miss Sharon is the sequence 4 demigod of the mutant pathway. That's right, the potion's name is Puppet. Klein kindly informed him. Emlyn was instantly enlightened as he fell silent for 2 seconds before saying with a complicated expression, if only she didn't speak or move, then she would be perfect. What the fuck? Then she would be perfect. He's in love. If it wasn't for the fact that a clown could be described as a master in terms of expression management, Klein nearly spewed a mouthful of water at Emlyn. He thought that the other party would praise Miss Sharon's beauty and doll-like characteristics, showing his infatuation and fever, but in the end, I can't understand. Emlyn is a freak. What was that? What was that, money? Easy, I just want to stop by and say hi. Wiz and me finished LTM today, so I really don't think I can stay. I'm still getting myself together, but want to pop anyway and tell you to have a good stream. Yo, dude, thank you. Yeah, I know. I heard he finished it today. Dude, wait, hold up. I don't even want to know like his thoughts on it. I don't even want to know if like he liked it, if he was excited, happy. I don't even want to know his emotions. I don't even want to like gauge his feelings because I still don't know anything. I don't even know how people like. I know people don't like the COI ending, but I don't know anything else. Alma, I don't ready for chapter 1266, 1295, and chapter. Ooh, those sound really good. He hated it. I know he didn't hate it unhinged. He might hate COI. You came on a little. That was a little too obvious. I can't understand what's on this fellow's mind. After controlling his urge to spew out whatever was in his mouth, Klein sighed inwardly. Emlyn glanced at him and seemed to have guessed what he was thinking. He scoffed and said, "Which two things do you like the most?" With Gurman Sparrow's character, he wouldn't have answered such a mundane question. However, he was still Sherlock Moriarty, a friend of the vampire. In front of him, a friend, man. At the end of the day, he's a friend. After some thought, he walked into the alley and casually said, "Money and delicacies? Then I'll give you a stack of edible gold pounds. Would you like it?" Emlyn asked further as he walked beside Gurman Sparrow without any fear of the crazy adventurer like Miss Magician. Clyde imagined it and felt that this would taint the value of the gold pounds, but also cause the delicacies to lose their attractiveness. Hence, he slowly shook his head. So the corners of Emlyn's mouth curled up. Although I also like exquisite, beautiful dolls and pure girls, if they were to combine together, it would inevitably make me find it a little odd. Yes, I believe that every doll of mine has her own character and story. What the if they suddenly come to life and not be like what I imagined, I would be very disappointed and worried. Of course, if I had the chance to obtain the puppet and obtain the sprinkle sum on all of my puppets, I might try it. What the fuck? As Emlyn spoke of his contradictory thoughts, he acted like a philosopher. My man's acting like Plato over here, dude. If Miss Justice were here, she should be able to analyze Emlyn's mental state from such a reaction. Before he could respond, Klein's figure instantly faded and vanished. He's like, "I'm out." And the rental apartment where Fors and Sheena lived, in front of the fireplace, Fors leaned back against a reclining chair with a pale face. She pulled up the wool blanket covering her body and, with the help of cogitation, entered a deep sleep. 2 hours later, she woke up feeling energized, but there were still some fatigue on her face. This Miss Magician took a slow, deep breath and extended her hand again, pulling Gurman Sparrow out of the air in front of her. Half of her demigod-level records were the summoning of the historical void projection. Klein glanced at her, this time without even nodding in his head. He directly teleported out of the house and entered an empty room in a hotel. Easy is more important. No. We can't say one is more important than the other. 2 hours ago, he had been busy with Emlyn and Miss Sharon's matters. The time he had returned to Backland himself. Without wasting any time, Klein immediately took out the adventurer's harmonica and blew it. When Miss Messenger stepped out of the void once again, Klein recounted how he wanted to hunt the dark demonic wolf and finally asked, "Do you have any suggestions?" Renette Tinker's 4 blonde, red-eyed heads bobbed up and down at the same time. Safari Castle. In essence, is the same as Palazzo's answered. Klein pressed curiously, "How?" "I don't know." Renette Tinker's 4 heads answered in unison. Klein silently exhaled and thanked her. "Sorry to trouble you. You can leave now." The blonde, red-eyed heads held by Renette Tinker immediately replied, "Bill Records, Force 1351. September 4's Gurman Sparrow owes me 1 gold coin." She took notes. With that said, she turned to transparent and returned to the spirit world. Klein was stunned for 2 seconds before he slowly took out his wallet from his inner pocket and picked up a paper crane. "I have some questions to ask you." He wrote on the paper crane he carried with him. After doing all this, Klein lay on the bed and fell asleep. In the hazy dream world, he once again saw Will Ossiton, who was lying in a black pram and wrapped in silver silk. You're already over a year old. Do you still think you're a baby that's a few months old?" Pretending that he didn't see him sucking his fingers, Klein quickly described his conundrum. The plump Will... Oh, Will. I thought we were talking about Emlyn for a second. We're like, no, we changed POVs, right? It's like, why the fuck is he sucking his thumb? The plump Will Ossipton retracted his thumb and sized up Klein. Isn't the answer obvious? Klein was pleasantly surprised and puzzled. Will Ossipton smiled and said, "You must have been eating too few desserts recently, causing your memory to be bad. Do you still remember what happened to Beyond?" And you guys said I had a bad memory. Come on. "Do you still remember what happened to a Beyond or Below an Angel, the Fate Pathway, when they see you directly?" This Klein's eyes lit up. "I don't remember what happens when they look directly." "Of the same pathway? Beyond or Below the Angel, the Fate Pathway, when they see you directly? Wouldn't they just lose control?" All right, we're going straight into the next chapter. No stalling, no stalling. Sorry, I wait, I know. I see a message. I missed a message. Let me just copy paste this. Copy. Paste. Yeah, dude, what the fuck? For a second, I thought we're talking about Emlyn still. I was like, what the fuck? Wow, I just realized that I haven't seen a single mod. Everyone who saw Wiz finish Ultim don't mention a word about it. I know. They're probably all sleeping right now. No, bro, freaky. Definitely freaky. All right, next chapter. Let's do this. 3, 2. Chapter 1232 is called Comparison Experiments. After becoming a demigod and gaining some level of control over Sephira Castle, Klein was able to prevent its aura from permeating out into the real world and augmenting him. This made him stop considering similar problems. After all, this would result in abnormalities, causing him to be recognized by the Beyonders of the Fate pathway. At a glance, it was rather useful. At this moment, once he received Will Ossleton's reminder, he felt that it opened up new possibilities. When I was only a subsidiary to Sephira Castle and only had the right to use it, the aura and projection of Sephira Castle made a saint of the Fate pathway not dare to look at me directly. I was equivalent to a mythical... Oh, I just realized I missed something today. Fuck. I was equivalent to a mythical creature in the eyes of the corresponding low and mid-sequence Beyonders. Now that I have initial control over Sephira Castle, there's a high chance I can make the effects better. This can affect angels who are complete mythical creatures themselves. Sephira Castle's level reaches that of a sequence 0 at the very least. Yes, according to my deductions, it might even be higher than a sequence 0. It has to be the trait that just knowing of it will result in the corruption. Klein's mind whirled with the activity as though streaks of lightning were flashed across his mind. He quickly made up his mind. After returning to the forsaken lands of the gods, he would find the monsters in the depths of the darkness and do some experiments with the marionettes in the fog of history. Damn. Bro, read off stream again? No. I remembered something that I was going to react to episode 1 of One Punch Man season 3. I forgot it came out today. I understand what you mean. I'll get someone to send you ice cream soon. Will Ossleton, who was wrapped in silver silk, slowly turned his head and looked to the side. No, there's no need. I've been eating too much ice cream during this period of time, and it's starting to affect my body's development. Klein picked... I got the burps all of a sudden. Klein picked up his brows and asked, genuine top-grade ice cream produced right from the Entis capital Trier. Give it to me next week. Will Ossleton hesitated before answering. With that said, the plump one-year-old child turned around and buried his face in a tiny pillow in the pram. Due to the limited times Miss Magician had in maintaining historical void projection, Klein didn't say anything else. Using his unique trait, he forcibly escaped the dream and woke up before getting out of bed. Right on the heels of that, he stretched out his right hand and repeatedly pulled at the air. 4 to 5 times later, his arm sank and dragged out a woman wearing a simple linen robe with a tree bark belt. She was barefooted and had long black hair. She was a lady with average looks, the leader of the ascetics of the Church of Evernight, servant of concealment. Oh, Ariana. Got it. It was Ariana. At the same moment in Hillston Borough, in the apartment, Forrest, who was sitting in a reclining chair, seemed to be pulled by an invisible thread as she sat up abruptly. Her body strengthened and the blood vessels on her forehead throbbed. I'm going to skip the song. Go to the next one. As her forehead throbbed, she felt that her spirituality was like a flood that flowed towards the void in front of her, one that she couldn't stop no matter how hard she tried. She was on the brink of being sucked dry. In the next second, the sudden surge eased quite a bit, but it remained frightening. It wasn't something that she could handle now. In a hotel room, Klein spoke succinctly once he saw the historical void projection of Ma'am Ariana gaining sentience. I plan on cooperating with others to deal with a particular shaman king of the Rose School of Thought. Ariana nodded gently, indicating that she understood, but she didn't give any suggestions. Seeing that the aesthetic leader didn't give him any warnings, Klein felt a lot more at ease with the plan to hunt the Shaman King. The fact that we're hunting a Shaman King. He then said, about 5 chapters. How far do you think Easy's brain matter will go by the end? Oh man, I'm scared. I thought I meant how long we're gonna read. He then said, I've been planning on targeting the dark demonic wolf recently. Ariana opened her mouth slightly and said, be careful. Damn, that's so cool. Did she mean to say that I shouldn't belittle the dark demonic wolf quarter? Just as he was about to ask a question, his consciousness suddenly blurred. He saw the woman opposite him and his reflection in her eyes fade away as he quickly disappeared. Thud. Force collapsed into the reclining chair as her facial muscles twitched slightly. This is more tiring than writing all night long. She gritted her teeth and tried cogitating to fall asleep. Extreme exhaustion. Whoa. That's weird. Might sometimes paradoxically cause insomnia to a person. In the forsaken lands of the gods, near Noy's ancient city in the north, there was no one in the dark wilderness. With the lantern emitting a faint yellow light, Klein circled around Klein circled around to confirm his surroundings. Then he found a rock and sat down, no longer shielding the aura of the gray fog from seeping into reality. On this foundation, Klein consciously strengthened the projection that Sephira Castle placed on him. After he was done with his preparations, he quickly turned a monster hidden in the darkness around him into a marionette. The marionette walked out of the darkness under the illumination of the lantern. It approached Klein and cast its gaze on him. And the eyes of this monster marionette, other than the coated and hatted Klein having deeper, more profound eyes, his temperament had also become more indescribable. There wasn't much of a difference from before. After repeatedly testing the different type of monsters, marionettes, Klein confirmed that ordinary people or most Beyonders were unable to discover that he had the aura of Sephira Castle on him. They can't detect it. Okay. Following that, he reached out with his right hand and pulled out his body from half a day ago. He controlled the rather dull historical projection to cast his gaze over. This time, Klein saw a layer of grayish-white fog covering his body. Its interior was shimmering with light, but it didn't reveal its actual appearance. He then removed the projection support and attempted to pull out Marionette's Rosago and other Beyonders of the Seer Pathway to repeat the experiments. Yes, after enhancing the projection, Beyonders of the Seer Pathway can directly discover something abnormal. However, those below the level of an angel can at least confirm that I'm related to Sephira Castle. There's no way to directly see the strange door of light, which is also the projection of Sephira Castle. Okay, got it. This outcome wasn't too surprising for Klein. He took a deep breath, and after preparing himself to rescue himself, he raised his hand and pulled out Winter Uni from back. I thought we lost Winter Uni from back when he hadn't been his marionette for long. Uni raised his head bit by bit, and his eyes gradually reflected. Klein, is this his historical void projection? Yo, man, good luck with your midterms, Misty. Dude, I wish you good luck, brother. Uni raised his head bit by bit, and his eyes gradually reflected Klein's figure. There was a faint gray fog that emitted outwards. Deep in the fog, transparent or translucent twisted maggots were clustered around the countless spherical lights. The spherical lights formed a door of light that was dyish, bluish black. The door of light was much clearer than before, as it appeared even more textured. At the same time, its shape changed as it extended even higher up. Okay, it was a historical void. Thank you, void. This made it look like a tall and thin, brilliant figure, and the grayish-white fog around the figure hooded robe. The spherical lights constantly flashed, making Klein feel like he was being watched by his deep, mysterious, towering, and terrifying figure with the numerous eyes. With a book, Klein headed involuntarily tilted back as a blood mixed with transparent maggots spurted out of his pores. The worms of the spirit fell to the ground as they frantically rolled and struggled. Some of them rapidly dissipated, while some eventually calmed down before crawling back into his body and into his pores. Man, it's much better than directly losing consciousness and suffering memory loss the last time. Klein rubbed his temples and sighed silently. Uni, who was standing in front of him, had already vanished because of the impact that Klein had received. Unable to maintain the historical void projection, Uni vanished. This was also one of the reasons why Klein didn't suffer too much damage this time. Without Winter Uni, he was unable to see the mutated strange door of light. So he can't see it without Winter Uni? This reduced a continuous assault on his senses. After 2 seconds, Klein entered the fog of history, took 4 steps counterclockwise, and went above the gray fog. Looking at the faint, dark glow rising from his body and melting away, Klein finally heaved a sigh of relief and gave his self-deprecating laugh. I nearly corrupted and corroded myself. Just like that? Damn. In the future, I'll use Rosago and the other Beyonders of the Seer Pathway to do additional experiments. If there's no direct assault, I need to confirm that there will be a reverse corruption for Sephira Castle's projection with the increase in observation time. The southern continent, East Balam, Phalotic city that was under attack, under the illumination of the crimson moon, the lone soldiers hiding behind a simple shelter took turns to reset to recover their energy. Their faces were black and covered with traces of gunpowder. Occasionally, someone would wake up and take out some dried tobacco leaves and casually roll it. Then they would use the remaining matchsticks to light it up and bring it to their mouths to suck deeply at it, and turned their eyes exuded mostly numbness and blankness. When the soldiers guarding this line defenses smelled the tobacco, they instinctively sniffed and looked over. Do you still have any more tobacco leaves? A soldier with a rifle asked his companion in a low voice. His comrade shook his head. I've already finished smoking it. I don't know when the next batch will arrive. I'm going crazy without tobacco. The soldier who first spoke gestured outside the shelter with his chin. Do you see that? There are so many corpses, so many hands and feet. They all belong to the living people. Before the sun set, the resistance had launched a fierce attack by feverishly storming the various defenses lines at the I cannot pronounce this word, Phalotic city. They they're disregarded for their own lives, frightening the lone soldiers and servant armies who had been guarding the city. They almost had the victory at hand, but ultimately failed to break through the critical lines of defense. They left behind copious numbers of corpses before receding like the tide. His comrade fell silent for a moment before saying, maybe tomorrow or the day after tomorrow will be joining them. Having said that, he looked up at the crimson moon and said in a dreamy voice, I wonder how Backlund is. I haven't received a letter from home in a long while. I wonder if they have enough food or if they can find the doctor when they are sick. If the soldiers who had wanted to smoke was about to curse at the damn war and damned enemy when his eyes suddenly widened. Trembling, he raised his right hand and pointed ahead. They're alive. Oh shit. One by one, the soldiers looked over and saw that under the crimson moon, the dismembered corpses and the resistance had left behind were beginning to crawl up one by one, swaying as they tried to approach the defensive line. In the distance, a mysterious hooded person. Who is this? In the distance, a mysterious hooded person in a black robe with an embroidered crimson pattern stood behind the resistance and spread out his arms slightly. The spirituality of the entire battlefield was rapidly being nourished. What the fuck, dude? That is so crazy, dude. What the fuck is this? 2 spots. Let's fucking keep reading, dude. Holy shit. Alright. Do you know what's crazy, dude? It's true. Dude, when we read volume 1 alone, I added it up. When we read volume 1, it took 50 hours to read volume 1. That's fucking wild, dude. Volume 1 was 50 hours when I added up all the time for just the VODs, not the live streams, you know? Like, just the VODs added up to 50 hours, man, for volume 1. That is crazy. Once we're done, I am going to go back and, like, add everything up and see how long it took to read everything, because that's fucking wild. Next chapter, man. The Inktober of this year have words very good for drawing LOTM characters. For example, Moustache, Roselle, or Crown Amon. Wait, what are we talking about? The Inktober of this year? I don't know what that is. I gotta look into that. All right, next chapter. Chapter 1233 is called Two Spots. Ever since the war became prolonged, the lone soldiers had been countless. Did we update everything? Yes. All right. Who is this person? Ever since the war became prolonged, the lone soldiers had seen countless unnatural phenomena. It happened so many that they were somewhat numb to it. However, the scene of the dismembered corpses crawling up remained a shocking scene. It left them horrified and confused. They felt as though they were unable to survive the impending disaster and would eventually become zombies. Of course, there was a reason why they were able to maintain their morale after seeing such an unnatural phenomenon. Just as they were feeling extreme fear, a series of chants sounded from behind them. Lacking clothes and food, they have no shelter in the cold. The Evernight did not forsake them, but bestowed them with love. The holy and sympathetic prayer reverberated across the entire defensive line, causing the fear in every soldier to quickly dissipate, their bodies and minds turning tranquil. Then a number of the soldiers followed the orders and moved out cannons covered in silver patterns. They adjusted the muzzles and aimed at the dismembered corpses that were rushing at them. Boom, boom, boom. Sparks flew as shells landed in different spots on the battlefield, exploding and emitting a thick darkness. The dismembered corpses collapsed, the strength within them vanishing. Otherwise, they were directly destroyed, returning to their ethereal slumber. Damn, this is hype. The mysterious black-robed man behind the resistance army raised his arms upon seeing this, as though he was hugging the crimson moon. At that moment, his body suddenly turned incorporeal. His body dyed a faint red as he transformed into a hazy ray of the moonlight. The moonlight shattered, instantly turning into red scales before dissipating into place. Moonlight transformation. Moonlight transformation. This was a beyond our power, that of a Sequence 5 Scarlet Scholar of the Apocryphy pathway possessed. To a Sequence 4 Shaman King, it was almost instinctive, and at the spot where the Shaman King had been, a figure quickly outlined itself. It was a huge cloth doll. Okay, it's written out. It was a huge cloth doll. It had blonde hair and bright red eyes and wore a long black gothic dress with countless mysterious patterns. No. Blonde hair, bright red eyes. Oh yeah, it is Renat. For a second I thought it was Sharon. No, she has red eyes. Mysterious patterns engraved on it. Swirling around it was sinister vines. Its skin had a luster that no human should have possessed. Renette Tanker. She had used the Staff of Stars to summon herself back when she was in perfect condition. Oh shit. Prime Renette. Of course, the Staff of the Stars that was lent to Miss Messenger was a real one. Klein had brought it back to the real world from above the gray fog ahead of time. If it wasn't for the case, it would be equivalent to Klein's historical projection of summoning a Staff of the Stars projection. Then the projection... Let me reread this. If that wasn't the case, it would have been equivalent to Klein's historical projection summoning... So, Klein's historical projection summons a Staff of Stars projection. Okay, there's 2 layers. Then the projection of the Staff of Stars would summon Renette Tanker in her peak state. The whole burden would be placed on Force, causing her spirituality to be quickly drained. Okay, because it's the historical projections. A solution to this problem was to temporarily lend the actual Staff of Stars to Renette. Oh, so she has the actual staff. The draining of the spirituality will be borne by this ancient bane and not Force. Got it. That makes sense. At the same time, Renette Tinker was probably one of the existences that were the least afraid of the negative effects of the staff. As a key representative of the Temperance faction, as a puppet and a cloth doll, she could stop unwanted scenes from surfacing in her mind. After changing into a concealed state, the Staff of the Stars could hardly affect her historical void projection. The peak state, Renette Tinker had attempted to sneak closer to directly possess the Rose Skull of Thought's Shaman King and instantly end the battle. However, the other party had discovered the danger ahead of time. Using Moonlight's illumination, he was one step ahead of the race's possession. Amidst the crimson glow that enveloped the ground, red scales rapidly reformed in the black-robed, hooded Rose School of Thought Shaman King. His eyes were closely eye-tight, not daring to look at the ancient bane opposite him. At the same time, on the other side of the battlefield, a figure rapidly appeared. I feel like I need slight battle music. Like slight battle music, right? I'll loop this. It was none other than Germansbro, who was wearing a black trench coat and a half-top hat. He had a transparent glove on his left hand, and as he raised his hand and snapped his fingers, scarlet flames rose up in various parts of the battlefield as if they were announcing the beginning of a grand performance. Just as the Shaman King finished reforming, he reached out his left hand and tore apart his clothes on his chest. The fuck? At that moment, Renette Tinker's bright red eyes reflected his figure. If the things one expected, the Rose Skull of Thought Shaman King wouldn't transform into a rabbit or a goat in the next second. He would lose most of his characteristics and beyond her powers, but his body only emitted a faint glow without any change. What the fuck? His exposed chest revealed a long, thin brown puppet which was embedded there. A puppet. The puppet seemed to grow out of the Shaman King's body, its body connected to his internal organs. Ugh. Like the placenta thing, right? Like the string. Ugh. Like it's connected with his internal organs. Its eyes and mouth were like crescents. The surface of its body, or like, I guess like the inner intestines. Ugh. Like crescents, the surface of its body was grown with dried flowers and withered grass, giving off an indescribable bizarreness in the moonlight. Suddenly, the puppet was dyed red as though it was soaked in blood. It immediately turned into a pool of mud that surged into the organs of the Shaman King. Amidst the mud, an arm stretched out. Its surface was flowing with a black sticky liquid that kept protruding out with strange objects. Some were skulls, some had barbed tongues, while others had three-dimensional eyes. Abomination Sua. Oh shit, he's here. The Rose School of Thought leader in existence at Sequence 1 had crossed at the vast distance and descended with the help of prior arrangements. That evil aura instantly caused the surrounding members of the Rose School of Thought and supporting members to either die, mutate, or widely attack their comrades. Apart from the Shaman King, no one was spared. Oh fuck, everyone? Damn. West Balam in the port city, Shaman King, who wielded the highest authority here, stood at the top of the cathedral that once belonged to the Church of Evernight as he looked down at the space at the sparsely lit city. In a house not far away, Emily White glanced at the doll like Sharon and took out a bronze box with mainly ruby gems embedded in it. Inside the box was an eyeball-shaped glass sphere. It was a sealed artifact which Emily had requested from the Sanguine, known as the Vision of White, an artifact of the Sun Domain. It was very efficient at dealing with the mutant pathway, demigods, and shaman kings. It could even be considered able to restrain them in certain aspects. Of course, it wouldn't feel any sense of pity and kindness just because Emlyn and Sharon were beyond us on its side. Upon seeing Sharon nod slightly to indicate that there were no problems, Emlyn's body phased away as the moonlight that shone into the room, and he disintegrated into a series of colorful red scales. What the At the apex of the nearby cathedral, Clareman was pacing back and forth with his puffy black and white hair. He sneered at the city's Nighthawks and mandated punchers for moving the low-end citizens and all the sealed artifacts away ahead of time. If the group consisted only of Beyonders, it wouldn't be impossible to escape, but with so many ordinary people, how can you effectively move without being noticed? There's no need for me to send people to track you. Simply looking down the surrounding docks and food supplies is enough to break you down without my interference. As he muttered silently to himself, this Shaman King, who had been active in the southern continent since the early 5th epoch, was even suspected to be dead, cast his gaze out the window, stared at the crimson moon high in the sky. Previously, the abnormal phenomenon of the crimson moon turning white made Clareman feel the anger of the primordial moon. He had always felt uneasy and disturbed. He had become a primordial moon believer over time while researching natural interactions, secret deeds, and other mysterious knowledge. Normally, it was relatively easy for a Shaman King to live 1,000 years, but later on, his physical condition waned, an irreversible form of aging and a decay of his spirit body. Therefore, 1,200 years was commonly the natural limit of the Shaman King. 1,200 years? I forgot they can be that old. What the fuck? Shaman kings and sanguine earls, to continue living, one could only rely on various methods to survive. For example, sealing oneself and sleeping in a coffin deep within a castle. Claremont was nearly 1,400 years old and still brimming with energy. He didn't need to limit his movements because he had received the primordial moon's blessings. This was also the reason why he had disappeared for so many years. Later on, he received a revelation from the primordial moon and joined the Royal School of Thought. In this aspect, Claremont always had the suspicious. Sometimes he believed that the Mother Tree of Desire and the primordial moon were one entity. They were different sides of the same great existence, yet there were other times when he felt that the Mother Tree of Desire and the primordial moon were not only different, but there were also a deep conflict between them. This resulted in the primordial moon believers not getting enough attention when they later joined the Royal School of Thought. Apart from receiving some bestowments in the form of items, they were placed in non-critical positions. Just as Claremont was focused on sensing the crimson moon in an attempt to gain a revelation, the crimson moonlight that fell onto the cathedral's bell tower had appeared. Red scales of light appear as they gathered together. The lights are gathering, and then manifested. Oh shit, it's Emlyn. Oh, because he broke apart the red scales, right? And now he formed again. And then manifested into Emlyn White, who wore a tuxedo and a bow tie. What the fuck? Behind this sanguine, a thick black gas emitted, forming a pair of illusionary bat wings. So badass, dude. Emlyn had already consumed the corresponding potion to remove his scent and spirituality fluctuations, allowing him to approach his target in secret. Of course, he was up against a demigod, a sequence 4 demigod of the same pathway. Bro dripped out, dude. This is fucking sick, dude. My man literally came out with his double trigger, with his fucking bat wings, and then he was over here wearing a suit and tie, just on top of that. Even if he were fully prepared, he didn't dare get too close, or else he would easily be discovered. Looking at the window where Shaman King Claremont was, he examined the projection on the glass for a second. Emlyn White opened the bronze box with the rubies embedded in it, and he used his black velvet gloved left hand to pick up the vision of the white. His expression twisted as he experienced the pain that came from being exposed to the blazing sun. Suppressing the pain, Emlyn pushed the eyeball-shaped glass sphere into his right eye. All the buildings in front of him had suddenly disappeared from his vision, leaving only shadows of cold crimson or fallen evil. Among them, there was a figure that was like a huge black whirlpool that was crazily devouring the light around it, causing his body to become distorted. Oh shit. This was Emlyn's target, the ancient Shaman King Claremont. Here we fucking go. A ray of light immediately lit up, condensing into a scorching, blinding light. It shot out from the vision of the white and went straight for the figure behind the glass window. Oh shit. The projection's descent. Descent? Okay, those are big words. Those are definitely fucking big words, dude. Let's keep reading, dude. 32 minutes, 32 seconds. That's kind of funny. 32. This might be the last chapter. I'm gonna see if I can read one more after. So I'm gonna try and lock in. And I think the last chapter is like 1,000. I think somebody said 270. It's around 270, 272, 271. Chapter 1234. It's called The Projection's Descent. Okay. The blinding white beam penetrated the glass window and landed on the Shaman King Claremont. We need battle music. I'm playing battle music. Yeah, we need battle music. We gotta play battle music. It then burst into an intense light, melting away all the undead darkness and evil. Claremont's figure burned with a white flame as though he had a paper figurine that had been brought near red embers. But it really was a paper figurine, one that seemed to be condensed from the crimson moonlight. The Shaman King substituted spell moon paper figurine. As the paper figurine turned to ash, the ancient Shaman King appeared at the top of the cathedral and cast his cold gaze at Emlyn White, who was standing near the bell tower. At that moment, within Claremont's blood-red eyes, it reflected the figure of Sharon, who was wearing a black regal dress and a tiny bonnet. Her body stiffened as it had lost control of herself. Seeing this, Emlyn didn't hesitate. It was as if he had practiced it 1,000 times before. He aimed his vision at the White Shaman King's left chest and prepared to activate the Sun Domain's unshadowed sphere. As long as the attack struck Claremont's heart, the Shaman King's Claremont wouldn't be able to use Moonlight Transformation. as long as he gets the heart to resolve it. It would also be difficult for him to recover using an artificial vampire's super recovery abilities. Of course, this would definitely cause more serious damage to Sharon, who had possessed Claremont. However, if they could quickly resolve their target, she was willing to pay the corresponding price. In the previous discussions, Emlyn, Sharon, and Merrick had already discussed a few similar plans and had come to a consensus. This was also the reason why Sharon didn't restrict Shaman King Claremont by tightening his clothes. Oh, I forget. She can like just control inanimate objects. That's why Klein had all the clothes attack him at the end of Volume 3. Tightening his clothes compared to a Wraith's possession, this was easier to resolve for the opponent who could use Moonlight Transformation. As whether Claremont would be ashamed of running naked, the answer for the magic mirror was no. They asked him at a time. Taking all these under consideration, they eventually chose to let Emlyn White attack the target. So to deplete his moon paper figurine to create an opportunity for Sharon to possess him. The transparent glass sphere in Emlyn's hand glowed once again, extending out in a blazing sphere that had turned extremely white. But at this moment, Claremont, who was standing at the top of the cathedral, suddenly underwent a transformation. A crack quickly split open in the middle of his forehead, as if there was a blood moon embedded in it. Moonlight surged out like a tidal wave, causing the illusory blonde, blue-eyed Sharon to float out of his body uncontrollably. Claremont's stiff and slow movements barely restored to normal, and under the radiance of the full moon, he turned into a pool of blood, splitting into countless fragments of light. His figure rapidly took form on another steeple of the cathedral, clinging closely behind him with Sharon. As for the unshadowed sphere that Emlyn had created, it passed through the spot where Claremont was originally standing and flew into the distance, expanding into a miniature sun. What the that's so cool. The entire port city was illuminated. At the same time, Claremont's right shoulders began to swarm before something tore through his black robe and burned out. Open debate. What pathway your choice? Dude, come on, man. I just like Shepherd, man. Secret Suppliants is badass, dude. This was an exquisite male doll. It was only the size of a palm and wore a dark red golden patterned tuxedo. Its eyes had been dug out, leaving behind two black holes. The puppet sat on Claremont's shoulders and raised its hands, tapping all its fingers as though it was playing an invisible instrument. I like Apprentice. I need to see more about them though, and I feel like I'd be able to make like my final decision once I see everything. Like once I see sequence, what's it called, 9-0 and Ascended, or like transcending sequences, I think we're good. Easy always choosing Demoness? Shit, you know him, bro. Sharon's figure was immediately ejected from Claremont's back as though she suffered a serious secret. I thought I meant Secret Supplant. My bad, not Demoness. No, I'm not choosing Demoness. Sharon's figure was immediately ejected from Claremont's back as though she suffered a serious repulsion. Emlyn felt his clothes tighten as they bound him tightly. His bow tie also came alive in a bid to strangle him to death. That doll was a grade 1 sealed artifact given to Claremont by the Rose School of Thought. It was called General of the Pupilless Eye. General of the Pupilless Eye. It was an item from a Sequence 4 demigod of the mutant pathway who had suffered a sudden death due to an accident. It had a living characteristic and could possess objects with spiritual... Oh, and it's possessing the doll. It could possess objects with spirits and awaken objects that didn't according to its wielder's will. However, the wielder needed to feed it with their flesh and blood, otherwise it would gradually grow its eyes. Once the sealed artifact was in a good condition, it would transform into an evil spirit that chased after its original owner while abhorring all humans. When Emlyn heard the sound of his bones crying in pain from the burden, the vision of the white that was burning his soul emitted a bright glow, turning his surrounding area into a land without shadows or evil. The effects of the General of the Pupilless Eye had on his clothes were severed. However, at that moment, Claremont had already indiscriminately muttered a particular word with a cruel smile. He reached out his hand and pulled out an illusory door with many mysterious symbols engraved on it out of thin air. This was the door of summoning. The Moon Pathway Sequence 3 was Summoning Master. Summoning Master? Wait, Moon Pathway Sequence 3 is Summoning Master? Under the illumination of the full-blood moon on his forehead, Claremont, who was only at the Shaman King level, my man, we're fighting high sequence beyonders, was able to complete a summoning. However, because of this, there was a certain chance of, in his overall aura, he had lost a lot of his rationality, and his madness had deepened. That's not good, dude. Amidst the illusory creaking of the door summoning opening crack in the gap, two human palms reached out. Their skins had no luster to it, and they lacked a texture. They were like a mostly inferior cloth doll. Outside the phallotic city of the Rose School of Thought, believers and followers who had originally planned on attacking the Loan army defenses line after the corpses horde of Tag had begun to kill each other, their rationality completely gone. Some of them who were originally ordinary people bent their backs and grew grayish black wolf fur. The corners of their mouths tore open as the sticky saliva constantly dripped. Some of their skin was dyed black and had to become as hard as steel. Some lost their hearts and fell to the ground, only to get back on their feet as though nothing had happened. Some of their bodies turned transparent as if they had become shadows. What the fuck? The descendants of the Abomination Sua aura had tainted all the living creatures in the vicinity, causing them to either break down and suffer a tragic death or turn into werewolves or zombies. As a high-ranking Sequence 1, he could directly bestow the power unto his believers, but there was a time limit. However, this method might not be the hope of the resistance. On the other side of the battlefield, over 2,000 meters away, behind the Lowen shelter, although the soldiers didn't see or hear anything, the transparent blisters began growing on the surface of their skin, and their minds were filled with thoughts of venting all kinds of emotions and desires. It wouldn't take long for them to go mad one by one and turn into irrational beasts. Across this base, even to the interior of Phalotic City, it would be a challenge to find humans who could still maintain their clarity of mind. Suddenly, they heard a chant. It was a chant formed from a sacred and ethereal voices. This chant came from the Evernight Cathedral in the city. Okay, from the city? Or from Evernight Church? It was as though there were many choirs praising the goddess. Sinking, the soldiers, citizens, and officers fell asleep one after another behind the shelters, inside the trenches, and on the streets. They dreamed of tranquil darkness, moonflowers, and night vanilla. Their bodies and minds became extremely peaceful, and they were no longer affected by evil. In the Evernight Cathedral in Phaltoic City, the high-ranking decans of the Nighthawks, the goddess's eyes, Ilia, tried her best to maintain the dream that enveloped the entire city. She was unable to interfere with the demigod battle outside. At the same time, Klein and Renette Tanker felt the change in the surrounding spirituality. It seemed to transform into layers of barriers and attempted to restrain them and restrict their actions. And in the bloody mud of the Shaman King's chest, a lump of squirming flesh covered in black sticky liquid drilled out right on the heels of Sua's arm, forming the body of the abomination. What the fuck? He was like a huge tree that had been splashed with oil. The extended branches were arms with which had various strange objects protruding out. On the surface of the trunk was covering in thick black liquid. Bloodshot eyes kept rolling. It cleared the mind of the onlookers, turning them into rabbits, goats, and pigs. The dozens of arms rapidly extended outwards. Some of them sealed off the city, while others burrowed into the ground. The rest either surrounded them from all sides or heads straight for Klein and Renette Tanker. At the same time, Abomination Sua let out a roar that pierced straight into one spirit body. It caused the two targets to tremble at the same time, causing a certain degree of stiffness to rear its head. It made the crimson moonlight in midair become even richer, allowing a scene to appear on the red screen. The core to this scene was a mummy wrapped in a yellow bandage. It had pierced countless brown tree branches and was suspended in mid-air. Its stomach bulged, and at times different parts bulged and shivered as if it was giving birth to a new life. Oh, this is gross. The mummy's mouth was agape as it kept screaming. So the mummy's screaming. Although Klein couldn't hear any actual sounds, he felt pain resonating with his body and soul, slowly burdening him with the mummy's predicament. The chained god? What? The roar of the Abomination Sua was formed from the ancient Hermes words that exceeded the imagination of human. It was essentially praying to the chain god, and he had successfully received a response? The projection's descent is this chapter. What the fuck? The Mother Tree of Desire was unable to infuse too much power into reality. If one wanted to pray to her and obtain the feedback of the angel level, they required a large-scale ritual. Of course, the influence the Mother Tree of Desire directly exerted and her attention via the Chain God had qualitative differences. The Chain God was originally not a true god, but he had contained the mutant pathway's uniqueness and two Sigmund 1 Bionic characteristics, making him a king of angels. After giving birth to Abomination Sua, he even lost a... Wait, what? After giving birth to Abomination Sua, he lost a Sequence 1 Bionic characteristic. When he was completely overwhelmed by the Mother Tree of Desire, he similarly suffered a life of isolation. Therefore, regardless of the essence of the Mother Tree of Desire, the effects she had on reality was limited due to the indirect methods used. But no matter what, the trap targeted at Renette Tanker was luxurious enough. As the projection of the Chain God appeared, the entire land was dyed with dark red colors. Klein felt that his connection with the spirit world had been severed and he could no longer use teleportation. His figure instantly leaped into the sea of flames, taking advantage of the opportunity when a red tanker was fighting against Sua. He reached his hand into the void and grabbed at different spots. Finally, Klein pulled out a silver black jewelry box embedded with various gems. Then, without any hesitation, he opened the second level. Second level. Box of the Great Old Ones. This Grade 0 artifact second level could transfer all living beings within its range to a particular scene recorded by it. Oh yeah, it records the scene. Got it. Oh man, that's good. Oh, this is good, dude. All right, man, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna end stream. No, one more. Let's do one more chapter. We're gonna do one more chapter, and I think what I'm gonna try and stream at 5 a.m. and read another chapter. I'm gonna read 1 hour tomorrow in the morning, and then I'm gonna read another hour, 1 to 2 hours when I come back. I'm gonna try and see if I can do I'm gonna do one more. I'm gonna try and see if I can do a 1 hour stream before I leave in the mornings, because I love you guys. I'm not working out right now. It's not working out in the mornings. I gotta do that before bed now. I gotta mix up the routine. So I think because I'm mixing it up, I'm still gonna wake up early, and I'm gonna try and read in the morning for you guys, because I do want to finish before I leave. Because if I don't finish volume 6, there's gonna be like a 4 or 5 day gap, bro, before we finish it. And I don't want to do that. I do want to finish it at least before I leave. That way I can have some peace of mind and tell myself, I finished volume 6 before I'm gone for like 4 days. Because I'm gonna be gone for 4 days. I'll be gone Friday to Monday, and I might stream later Monday like usual time, but we'll see. All right, let's do this. Hello. What's up, Chaman? All right, last chapter for today. Chapter 1000, and then we might be streaming again at like 4 or 5 a.m. Fingers crossed. I'm going to try and do it for you guys. Chapter 1235. Hello. Most valued support. The silver black 3-tiered accessory box was mainly embedded gems quickly opened, revealing the interior of the second layer. It was dark, even surrounding bearers seemed to blend in with it. It gave one the feeling that it was a pocket of infinite space. In an instant, the darkness lit up the countless resplendent speckles as if they had transformed into a miniature cosmos, a miniature universe. What the fuck? Oh my god, what? A miniature universe. These bright points of light rapidly spun at the surrounding scene, changed several times into seconds. The end of volume 6. Break me and the other people. What's the last chapter again, Alma? Is it 72? I think it's 72. In seconds, what Klein expected was the move Abomination Sua, the Rose Gold fought shaman, and many other followers to the ruins of the Battle of Gods. We're gonna fight there? By making them leave the southern continent, they wouldn't be able to immediately sense the Claremen had been attacked. This way, they wouldn't be able to provide any timely and effective assistance. However, they're isolated. The second level, the Box of the Great Old Ones, had an element of randomness to it. The act of sending things to the designated scene succeeded a handful of times. Most of the time, the selected destination would suffer an unavoidable change. This was something that couldn't be influenced with luck, and at the very least, no one below Sequence 0 could do so. Therefore, when he opened the second level of the box... we're not going there. We're going somewhere else. 66? Okay. Bet. We can do that by... We can do that by Wednesday. We'll see. He had to rely solely on the observation to push out all his chips. This left his heart filled with anxiety. Of course, he wasn't too worried, no matter where the Box of the Great Old Ones brought him and Miss Messenger. It was impossible to harm him in any way. After all, Renette Tanker was fake. The Box of the Great Old Ones was fake, and even he himself. The fact that like all of these are just fake, the fact that none of this is the main body is just wild. With this in consideration, even if he was thrown underground by the Box of the Great Old Ones and faced a terrifying corruption, Klein could instantly dispel the historical void projection, enter Sephira Castle, and do a complete disinfection and sever all connections. And then he can just try again. Building on this foundation, he had the ability to help Miss Messenger's main body resist the corruption. Since it wasn't directly experienced through the layer of historical void projection, the outcome was relatively better. The only thing he needed to worry about was that the random scene selected by the Box of the Great Old Ones was where Miss Sharon and Emlyn were attacking the Shaman King Clareman. That way, it would be equivalent to leading the main enemy force to head straight for its headquarters. This meant that they could only consider giving up on the operation, and he and Renette Tanker would undertake the responsibilities of helping all participants escape from the battlefield and escape of the southern continent. The probability of this happening was very low, but he had to be wary. At that moment, due to the influence of the abomination Sua aura, Klein's spirituality had frozen quite a bit. It seemed to bind his body and soul, but it still flowed into the box of the Great Old Ones, maintaining its open state. In the blink of an eye, the scene in the second level of the box of the Great Old Ones changed, revealing a tiny, vast sea. Klein, Renat Tanker, Abomination Sua, the Hooded Shaman King, and many Rose School of Thought believers and subordinates saw endless yellow sand and extreme cold of the night. Other than the projection of the Chain God, all the living beings on the battlefield were instantly transported to a desert. As for the projection, due to the departure of the Abomination Sua, the connection was severed, preventing his powers from seeping into reality. Without the luxury of time to examine where he was currently, Klein dispelled the box of the Great Old Ones and snapped his fingers, summoning a scarlet flame as he constantly jumped within them. He had done so to avoid the intention of Abomination Soul, as well as to grab the opportunity to complete the summoning of the historical void projection. Okay, I'm following. At this moment, he heard an extremely evil roar. His mind suddenly went blank, and he temporarily lost all his thoughts. The scarlet flames he was immersed in came alive as well, like a cage bounding him to the ground. With just a roar and the influence of some auras, Abomination Sua had already restrained him to a certain extent. If it wasn't... Oh, he can control the flames. If it wasn't for the fact that Renette Tanker, who was in her peak condition, was his teammate, Klein's projection would have been helplessly executed. Perhaps his actual body would suffer certain effects. At this moment, a huge doll the size of a castle took... Oh, wait. Renette is the size... her old self. Like, huge self. At this moment, the huge doll the size of a castle took a step forward, opened it tightly, and shut mouth. There was no sound, but the distorted wood that was covered in a pitch-black liquid seemed to encounter a flood dike. It repelled backwards and raised the arms with strange protruding objects. This was a curse that Renette Tanker had been silently accumulating for a very long time. The root of the curse was that the anger, hatred, and her grudges that had emerged after she suffered an attack. However, Abomination Sua didn't show any obvious changes. He only staggered a little and froze for a second before returning to normal. High-level existences were always able to restrain low-level beyonders of the same pathway. They could even exert a certain influence over space, and using this opportunity to escape the restraints of the flames, Klein used Creeping Hunger to flash to another side, avoiding the Blood Moon arrow created by the Rose School of Thought's Shaman King. He didn't dare to look directly at Abomination Sua. He seized the opportunity and reached out with his right hand to pull out from the void ahead. This time, he didn't drag anything out. Klein continued blinking about and repeating his actions. Then he successfully dragged out a figure. It was none other than who is it now? It was none other than the leader, as I lose my place, of the Church of Evernight Ascetics, the Angel of Concealment domain, Ariana, who was a simple linen robe and a tree bark belt. My report from before worked after all. A thought flashed through his mind as he activated Creeping Hunger once again and teleported elsewhere. The eyes of Ariana's projection darted slightly as her eyes instantly turned dark and deep. Following that, she joined in the battle between Renette Tanker and Abomination Sua. With her help, Renette Tanker, who was in a rather difficult situation and trying hard to create opportunities for him, finally managed to catch her breath. She didn't get possessed by Abomination Sua, nor did she become a real doll. The Rose School of Thought's Shaman King showcased his well-rounded aspect towards the Darkness and Moon domains. He attempted to use spell-like Abyss Shackles to restrict Klein's movements, but the short distance blinking was simply too effective. Without the projection of the Chain God and his influence of the surrounding area and the interference of Abomination, Klein was like a fish in water. He was free and relaxed. He only needed to consider how to deal with his enemy spells every 2 teleports. However, the Shaman King could hardly stop him in an effective manner due to the unpredictability of where he would appear next. During this process, Klein grabbed at the void a few more times until he dragged out a figure. This figure had blonde skin, black hair, and brown eyes. Oh, Azik? Bronze skin, black hair, and brown eyes. His facial features were soft and his gaze was cold. He wore a deep black robe embroidered with golden threads. He wore a golden crown, and he was none other than the former dev consul Azik Eggers. Another angel. The Shaman King's eyelids twitched as he watched. He's like, oh shit, dude. At this moment, Abomination Sua suddenly inserted multiple black arms into the desert. The desert nearly bowled and was blanketed with a thick black liquid. They extended into the distance and invaded the void, disrupting the overlapping of reality in the spirit world. Oh shit, dude. Taking advantage of the fact that his teleportation wasn't completely affected, Klein blinked behind Mr. Zik with him shielding him. He quickly grabbed at the air a few times. His arm suddenly sank as he pulled out a silverly white snake's tail. Another angel. He's like, the Shaman King, what the fuck, dude? A third angel. The reason why he dared to directly summon the three angels is because the historical void projection of his was summoned by Renette Tanker using the Staff of Stars, the real Staff of Stars. The spirituality consumed was born by the ancient Bane, not For's. Otherwise, For's would have already fainted the moment the servant of consummate Ariana descended. There was no way she could endure spirituality expenditures such as this. For's purpose was to first summon German Sparrow's historical projection so that he had plenty of time to set up the ritual and bring the Staff of Stars to the real world. Then the maintenance of the historical projection would be dispelled, allowing him to return to the fog and have Renette Tanker summoning another him. There are so many layers to this, man. In less than 10 seconds, the Abomination Sua had focused his attention on Renette Tanker and subconsciously belittled Klein, leading him to not only losing the help of the Chain God projections, but also being thrown from the state of being the one who had laid an ambush to the one being besieged by four powerful angels. Without any hesitation, the Sequence 1 angel opened his mouth and chanted in ancient Hermes words. He had once again prayed to the Chain God. When the door of summoning opened in front of the Shaman King Claremont, just the extension of two trembling hands was enough for a thought to abruptly flash across Emlyn White's mind. Oh shit, dude. Hey, thank you. The other angels of the Rose School of Thought and the King of Curses, Barbonica. Barbonica? This was information provided by Sharon and Merrick. Upon seeing this, Emlyn's mind tensed up. Without any hesitation, he waved his arm and threw the vision of white at the door of summoning. This was partly because he was experiencing a battle at the demigod level for the first time, so he couldn't help but overreact. I feel like he's underreacting here. On the other hand, he wasn't worried about losing the vision of white. After all, it belonged to the Sanguine. At the worst, he would repay it in the future over time, just like he would repay them in the future. At the same time, even without the sealed artifact, he still had other mystical items to use it, such as Layman's Travels. With a notebook, Emlyn could summon the Uncharted Crucifix to replace the Vision of White. With the notebook, Emlyn could summon the Uncharted Crucifix to replace the Vision of White. After the eyeballs-shaped glass sphere flew out, it continually absorbed the light along the way, bringing with it extreme darkness. When it got close to the door summoning, the Vision of White suddenly exploded into an extremely brilliant glow. Like a blazing sun at noon, it enveloped both the hands and the door, melting away all evil, degenerate darkness, filth, and undead auras. The full-blooded moon on Claremont's forehead was clearly affected. All the light beams were pressed to his side, preventing him from affecting his surroundings. Seizing the opportunity, Sharon's figure that appeared in midair distorted, turning into a human-sized puppet. This puppet was identical to Shaman King Claremont. It had messy black and white hair and a pair of bright red eyes. As for Emlyn, he raised his left arm and revealed a translucent ring that was worn outside his gloved index finger. The ring seemed to be made of light red ambers, and there was a blood-colored gem embedded on it. Lilith's ring? I don't remember this ring. Lilith's ring? This was a ring personally made by the Sanguine ancestor, the ancient goddess Lilith. Oh shit. Oh, you're right. It could project a door that led deep into the spirit world for a certain amount of time, summoning an unknown creature. Emlyn wasn't sure what he would obtain. He only knew that under normal circumstances, the summoned object was usually slightly stronger than him, but the possibility of directly pulling out a demigod wasn't impossible. At the tip of the ring, the blood-colored gem emitted a faint glow as an illusory door covered in mysterious patterns appeared in front of Emlyn. Oh shit, we're almost done with the chapter. The door creaked open, the gap in the door widening. Shaman King Claremont had just recovered his senses from the sun's illumination when he saw a moon rise up behind the door summoning. Oh shit, it was a bright moon, one that was slightly silver in color. Oh, wait, it's our moon. What a good cliffhanger. It was a bright moon, one that was slightly silver in color. Holy shit, dude. Oh, man. That is so good, dude. Oh, man. What a fucking good cliffhanger. I'm gonna have to stop there, man, because it is late. I'm gonna try and stream in the morning. Oh, man. That was good. That was good. Our moon? It's our moon, dude. It's like, it's the OG moon, bro. It's the OG silver moon. Dude, can I please tell me I can use it as a thumbnail, Sunny? What if I just put a silver moon as our thumbnail? Can we do that? Is that cool? Do you think that's chill? I don't think that many people would. I don't think people would catch on to that. Fuck it. I'm gonna make the thumbnail just a regular silver moon. Our moon? I think I'm gonna make that our thumbnail. Our moon. Yeah, our moon. Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Alma. Oh man, that'd be good. Wow. All right. I'm gonna try and wake up super early. I'm gonna try and wake up early. I'm gonna try and stream from like 5 to 6 a.m. or like 5:30 to. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try and wake up. I'm gonna try and do like a quick stream when I would originally work out. I'm gonna try and wake up early. I've had 2 bad days this week where I'm up all night. I was up until like 4 in the morning. From 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. I was just wide awake. I could not sleep. I was just tossing and rolling. And I think on Monday I woke up at 3:33 and I couldn't go back to bed. I was like wide awake. So knock on wood, I can sleep today right away when I end stream. Perfectly wake up and we're good to go. This is good. This is hype. I'm excited to see what happens in chapter 1236 because I remember a few people, including Love, I think Cammy and Username, I think all 3 of them said you should stop at 36. So I had to stop at 35. It's okay, dude. Take care of your health. I know. No, I'm trying to see what I can squeeze in. I'm not gonna try and force myself, right? If I can do it, cool, it works. But yeah, I'm gonna try to not force myself because since I am leaving Friday and I'm back Monday, I have a little bit of pre-prep to do. It's gonna be like a little road trip, so I am gonna be gone for a few days, but then I'll be back. It's not a choice, right? I have to do it, but I'll be back Monday, and I think we'll be good. If I can stream like about an hour in the morning, I can probably finish 12:40 tomorrow morning, come back 45, same thing, and 50, 55. And then Wednesday, we read up until 66. Ooh. Thursday, we read up to 66. We'll see how we do it. I'll see how we do it. All right, I'm going to let you go. Peace. Have an amazing day. I'm going to do my best to finish this chapter before I leave. I got you guys. All right, later. Later, alligators. Later, guys.